Our next guest is a Bronzeville native who's been using film to tell Chicago's stories for years. Now she's being featured in the Gene Siskel Black Harvest Film Festival as she celebrates local icon Gwendolyn Brooks. It's a subject close to her heart. We want to welcome producer and director Shahari Moore. Thank you so much for coming in. Hello.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Why is this so close to you?
So I went to Chicago State University and I graduated from the MFA program, Masters in Fine Arts program. And we had a Gwendolyn Brooks Center, and we were focusing on her work and how important she was to Chicago. Later on, I was the first coordinator for Gwendolyn Brooks Day. So that really brought me into wanting to learn more about who Gwendolyn Brooks was as a person.
The poet laureate of Chicago.
Yes.
And from Chicago, obviously. We just saw her daughter recently reading one of her poems when the Picasso, 50th year for the Picasso, can you believe it?
Absolutely.
Oh, and Gwendolyn Brooks read something the day of.
Yes.
The day that the Picasso went up here in Chicago.
Absolutely. So she has a couple of poems that she did on the Picasso, one being the Chicago Picasso. And this is basically to celebrate, talk about the Picasso and the fact that this is something that is a symbol in Chicago. And if you read the poem, it really reveals a lot in terms of Gwendolyn Brooks' honesty, because she's very honest about her thoughts about the Picasso. So you have to check it out.
When you were researching and putting this together, did you come close to her like she was alive for you?
I did. First of all, one of my starting points was some of her footage that she did in 1966. And she's talking about who she is as a poet. She's talking about her creative process. And it just really made me feel even close to her. Something that really makes you feel close to Gwendolyn Brooks is listening to some of the audio recordings.
I bet.
Because she's just a sister girl, chatting it up, telling you about her life, telling you about how she met her husband and some of her experiences. And that's a part of Brooks that we don't tend to get.
Right.
Because so many of us are not going back looking at archival footage or listening to archival interviews as well.
How tough was it for her to become what she became, and not as much recognition as maybe the white poets?
It was very tough for her to become who she became. One thing that we don't talk about oftentimes with Gwendolyn Brooks is the fact that as she's out there honing her craft as a creative, she's experiencing poverty. She experienced it before she was married. She experienced it after she was married. At the time that she won the Pulitzer Prize, her lights were off. She didn't even have enough money to pay the light bill.
Wow.
But when it was known by the city that she had won this honor, they turned the lights back on for the interview. So a lot of times we don't talk about that. But she's really somebody who persevered, and she's somebody who really does mirror a lot of Chicagoans. So we really need to know more about her story.
Right. Where did she live?
She lived many places in the city of Chicago. If you track it, she probably lived in about 11 locations. We can find where she's lived in different places in Bronzeville. She lived in Inglewood. She lived in the area around Grand Crossing. She lived in Hyde Park. And she lived on 95th Street as well.
So she's been all over. And she does have how many children?
She has two.
Okay.
She has two children. So she has Nora Brooks Blakely, and she also has Henry Blakely III.
How have they helped to keep her spirit alive, to keep her works alive?
Okay. I have not had as much conversation with Henry, but her daughter Nora has started Brooks Permissions. So they basically assist in helping people to connect to Gwendolyn Brooks's work, utilize her work in a way where it is legally friendly, and she is also on many committees that keep her mother's memory alive. So if you look at Gwendolyn Brooks Day, that task force, her daughter is there. If you look at a lot of the planning efforts, particularly over at the University of Chicago, Nora Brooks Blakely is there.
She should have much more recognition than she gets, shouldn't she?
She should. I agree.
How tough is that? I mean, for you to have felt as though she was like one of your heroes, I'm assuming she is, and for you kind of being the only one championing this right now.
Well, I would love to take all that credit, but there are a lot of people who have been championing Gwendolyn Brooks over the last year. But
is it only because of your documentary, you think?
I would love to say that. but I can't in good consciousness. There are so many people who are getting out and have been doing the work over the last couple of years. If we think about Third World Press and Hakeem Matabuti, he has always been a Gwendolyn Brooks champion. So there are people and voices just around the city of Chicago, but if you look at it, a lot of these voices are coming from the poetry community.
Yeah.
I think what's a little bit different about my voice is the fact that I am a filmmaker who has taken a great interest in Gwendolyn Brooks. And, you know, not necessarily a poet as my first voice, but someone who writes and someone who is definitely a part of that community as well. So my job was basically to just pull her out and illuminate her on a different platform.
How exciting is it for you to be in this film festival?
I'm very excited. So this is my solo directorial debut. I made my debut in 2011 with a film called Swimming Lesson, and then later on with a film called Be Love. Both of them started at Black Harvest and then later on ended up in Cannes. So that was very exciting.
That's wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone needs to go out and see it. The film festival is going on through August 31st. You can find more details on Shahari's film and all the projects being screened at the Black Harvest Film Festival at siskelfilmcenter.org. Thanks so much.
Thank you.